Namaskar, Abhinandan. A very welcome to all of you in today's video. So we all know that in the last few days, a issue, a young man who gave his life did suicide because he was harassed by his wife. The divorce proceedings were on, the legal system failed him, and that is a person has not only made the idea has echoed with not only the people around the world, within India, but around the world as well. Now this person is nothing, his name is Atul Subhash. Atul Subhash gave his life few days ago. He made a detailed video of more than 1 hour telling his travails, his challenges in the last few years after his marriage. Also, he also mentioned that how not only the harassment by the individuals, maybe his so-called wife and their in-laws, but also the legal system failed him, the justice system failed him. There were a lot of false accusations, cases which had no substance were put on him. He was in extreme trauma. He was in state of mental breakdown, and eventually he took an extreme step of giving his life. He said that I am the ATM which my wife is using, and now this ATM will be closed for me, my wife, and for everybody. Unfortunately, his 4-year child, his 4-year son will have to go through this challenge again. Imagine how difficult it would be for that child for the coming years and decades. A child will be bereft of the father's care, love, support, everything. So this is not a case of one individual. This is a case of many such individuals which are there. Now we always come across the challenges which women face in our society. We always come across that how women have to face domestic violence, or for that matter, sexual harassment at workplace, or the inequality in terms of gender issues or stereotypes a woman has to face. So naturally, it is important for us to understand that why these issues are there and how we should counter them. Now here, Mr. Atul Subhash has already given his life, and it is believed that the justice is something he should get with time. Now, moment his case became viral, and why I'm making this video, because the accused, his so-called wife, the in-laws, the brother of the wife, all of them arrested in Bengaluru. And when they were arrested, in Prayagraj they were arrested, and when they were arrested, it was mainly maybe the things have started. Now naturally, there has been one-sided view in the media about how that person was harassed, and we are not denying that, because somebody who is giving his life, naturally before giving his life, one would not tell a lie to the world. And that it was so meticulously planned, somebody who is giving his life and he has planned everything in a very structured manner, telling that he completed his work, he completed his, he paid to every person whom he had to pay, and then he took a bath, and then he took his life. Can you imagine the extent of mental agony and the pain this person was going through? Now, question is not what, as at a personal level, there is a familial discord, there is a marital discord, there are such issues which might happen. There is no denying from these facts. But the question that has to be asked, that to what extent it can really impact the societal values, and how long it will go. There is a very common saying that hell hath no fury as women's wrath. Hell hath no fury as women's wrath. And when you are saying such things, imagine if a woman decides that I'm going to use all my, my negative energies and use the personal vendetta against an individual, and I will also make sure that legal system helps me. But if we see the history of India, men were the exploiters, and women were the people who were exploited. Now, women, they were exploited, and that is where the legal system created the biasness, where they kind of created the law so that women can be supported and they can be given. And that is where it is important to understand. Not only this, ek Atul Subhash ki baat nahi ho rahi hai. We have so many people, but we should also see the other side of the picture and also see that what women are actually facing in society as well. Now, in this case, Atul Subhash, a 34-year deputy manager, general manager in a firm, he died by suicide in his Bangalore apartment, leaving a 24-page detailed suicide and he accused his wife and her relatives of harassment. Since his death, the case has sparked massive outcry and justice on social media. Justice for Subhash, justice for Atul, justice for, maybe many such people have come forward and they're telling the world that, see, this is what we have faced and we are facing again. Yes, it is true. Our legal system has huge loopholes. The justice is delayed. The process is such a long, it hits person at a very level. And if somebody wants to use these laws negatively against the people, it can be used to an extent you can't even imagine. Because this person was going through similar situation. From last 4 years, every day, more than 9 cases were slapped on him. It was about, maybe it was about unnatural sex, or it was about domestic violence or dowry, and such cases were put on him. Now, whether these cases were true in entirety, in word by word, but definitely there is no smoke without fire, because there is definitely something that has to be seen. Only time will tell. It is also told that the justice system of India has not been fair to this person, because the justice, even the people who are involved in the justice system, they exploited him, financially and at all level, and he felt helpless. He felt that probably the system cannot help us anymore. The only way is to give up my life and maybe free myself from the challenging situation. Now, the repercussion is that justice for Atul Subhash has started. There are people on social media, on X, they are telling us, they are saying that why, they said that heartbreak, condemning the harassment of Subhash from the ex-wife and the court over alimony. The alimony is also, now remember, this is a phenomena. हमारी society ऐसे phenomena से जा रही है जहाँ पर social values का decline हुआ है and marital discord have taken a new route. When woman, when she feels harassed, or when a woman feels that she doesn't want to continue the marriage, then naturally you use legal measures, and they use to extreme level. And that is where I want to tell you the kind of legal system that we have. Even Supreme Court has acknowledged that there is growing misuse of section 498A, the Indian Penal Code, by wives. Now, Indian laws are highly gender specific, which means that the laws were made to protect the woman, the rights of the woman, but in return, you kind of start harassing the men. So these laws protect women, but they don't protect the men. Women misuse the laws made for the protection against men due to sometimes an innocent man is also considered guilty. Now here we are talking about 140 crore population, and imagine the extent of the misuse of these laws can happen. Yes, it is true that justice is something which is very hard to get in India. The civil cases, the criminal cases, they go on for years and decades before the final verdict is out, and by then it is late. Now, who is responsible? What are we looking at? Can't those things can be decided in a mutual, amicable way? Can't we act as a mature individual? Because that is what is needed. Any person who is giving his or her life, imagine the extent of pain that person is going through. Imagine the state of helplessness that person is going through. Imagine the state in which the extreme decisions are taken. You're cornered, you have no hope, the hopelessness puts you to that level. A demand for dowry, that was accusation. A demand for maybe 3 crore alumni, maybe 30 lakh rupees just to make sure that Mr. Atul Subhash can see his son. The money was taken repeatedly, one after another, so that he could serve, or maybe could meet the needs of the in-laws and the ex-wife. Yes, the problem, the rot lies deep. And legal system is definitely something which has to be looked into and has to reform. Because society today is changing, and society is changing, so does the law. The law of society should represent the needs of society. But is it the entire story? Can we say in entirety that women are the exploiters all the time? Are they not victims? Well, yes. There are cases of women victims also. There are cases where women were harassed. But laws are such made where the gender laws are highly valued, biased towards against men. That is the problem. Why it is always believed that woman is a weaker sex, and thereby the protection has to be given to them. तो ये सवाल बहुत बड़ा है, और ये सवाल बड़ा इसलिए है कि इस सवाल के पीछे इस समाज का एक चेहरा भी है. The society, the rot, as I mentioned, lies deep, and it tells that where are we failing? What are we going to give to our posterity? हम अपने फ्यूचर में क्या देने वाले हैं? ये सवाल हमें अपने आप से पूछना पड़ेगा. Now, I want to discuss about the legal provisions. Now, Supreme Court, as I mentioned, has highlighted that how gender laws. Now, there are around 10 women laws in India. Specifically, I have noted, जो आप देख सकते हैं. So, yes, most of these laws were created so that women exploitation does not come. Also, the women get equal weight in society, and they get equal respect and at all levels, social, economical, and political. So, the first is, of course, the Equal Remuneration Act. The same salary should be given. With work, men, women, the salary should remain same. But in spite of that, the wage disparity is very high. आज भी wage disparity है. The second law is, of course, the Dowry Prohibition Act. Now, Dowry Prohibition Act were created because society, as I mentioned, has stereotype, gender biasness, patriarchal, और इस society के अंदर women का harassment होता था. Dowry deaths were very frequent, and that is where these laws were to protect the women. But आज इसका ये एक tool होता है harassment के लिए, and I'll be discussing those. The immoral trafficking of women, that is also a law which has to be, which protects women against human trafficking. The preconception, PCPNDT law against the, against feticide, यानी fetal को death जो women pregnancy, जब girls की pregnancy होती है, when a woman get pregnant, when the child is a girl child, then you kill the fetus. उसके against ये law है. The Medical Termination Pregnancy Act 1971, again a very important law. Then Commission of Sati Prevention 1987, Prohibition of Child Marriage, again very important law. Sexual harassment at workplace, पहले विशाखा guidelines आए, and then the sexual harassment at workplace came, so that women are not exploited. And the Maternity Benefit 1861 and the Hindu Succession Act 1956. So these matrimonial laws, domestic violence laws, sexual harassment laws, human trafficking laws, they all were created with such an approach where women are victims, and thereby we need to protect them. Now, when you protect a woman, naturally it will come at the cost of men's freedom or many a times exploitation as well. So there is no denying from these facts. Now coming to, I want to discuss further that are these laws entirely biased against men? Yes, to an extent, and on the other side, even the laws which are not able to protect the women also. For example, if I talk about men, now misuse of personal vendetta and false accusation. Now this is by, in the dowry prohibition में एक general level पे you see that women, a person, family members, they use provisions and एक personal vendetta के नाम पर false accusation करते हैं, and the male members, उनके family members का harassment होता है. This is something which is very common in India right now. Second is men are falsely accused in the domestic violence. Now when you are involved in domestic violence, there is social stigma and there is a legal trouble also that you have to face. The problem is that most of these laws does not require evidence. यहाँ पे evidence की जरूरत नहीं है. Mere accusation will make you a person who is guilty. आपने सिर्फ accuse and remember, and the violence is not only the physical, it can be mental violence. So कई बार laws ऐसे बने हैं कि men have no option rather than to just face the victim's approach. The third is men are falsely accused in the sexual harassment. This is also a very big challenge. So when you work at the workplace, there are sexual harassment situations happen where employees are harassed, coerced, and thereby the law is very important to help women. But somewhere women knows that if these laws are used against men, it can have a different repercussion. Justice तो बाद में मिलता है, guilty पहले हो जाते हो. Your name, everything is no question. Women and child welfare, yes. Women and child welfare committees बनती हैं, and most of these committees were created with a biased approach कि भी हाँ, problem men के अंदर है, women के अंदर नहीं है. So ये एक समस्या जरूर है. Then matrimonial laws, the gender biasness of Hindu Marriage Act, Muslim Personal Law Act, ये सारे laws में कहीं ना कहीं, of course there are biasness here also. So overall we can say that men are victim because of these. But on the other side, women के साथ ऐसा नहीं कि women के साथ, the data suggests that there are, as per National Crime Records Bureau, the dowry deaths are still there, sexual harassment is rampant. Women का sexual harassment होता है workplace में, many times she is not able to say something because it brings disrepute to her maybe it brings disrespect to her maybe reputation, or maybe maybe she might not be able to face the society. Similarly, there is a loss in the Maternity Benefits Act 1961. If woman is going for maternity, you have to pay her wages. Now that is where women are not employed by the organization because there might be a loss of job opportunity. Then you have child marriages. Now child marriages is something which is very much rampant in many parts of Indian society, and that is where such laws are very important, because women, when they get married as a child, she has to bear a lot of mental physical and mental trauma in the early years of maybe unplanned pregnancies. Maybe they're not even mature to understand the concept of family and bearing the child, and that is where these child marriages should be stopping. इनको stop करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Then you have Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013. Now this happened after the Nirbhaya case, where sexual violence is something that has to be seen, and a very strong laws are created, and men will be put to the extent of we can give them death also if needed. Then Women and Child Welfare Committee, where these are, even though they are made, they are not effective because of delays in the society and of course the bureaucratic inefficiencies. So that is all about the Indian society, and there is no denying from these facts that these laws are there. Now if you want to link with previous year questions, these are questions from the women-led issues are there, and these are questions that have come, and if you see, the themes are repeatedly asked in the UPSC. So if you are going to study such topics, you get a lot of fodder for such questions, and you can solve them very well. Okay, so that is all for today. Thank you very much for like the video, subscribe to the channel, and be regular on the videos, because we'll be making more such videos. But it is very important for us to understand that as a society, we are going to do the same thing which we reflect as values, and thereby it is important that we should wake up and we should question the things, so that the next person is not the victim. My condolences to Atul, Subhash, his family members, his son in particular, because as a father I can understand the extent of future challenges that child is going to face, just because maybe there was a marital discord between his father and mother. These discords, they impact children more than anybody else. Okay, thank you very much. Take care. God bless you. Bye.